Welcome to Unshakeable Belief, the podcast for anyone ready to break free from burnout, reclaim their health, and rise into the life they were meant to live. I'm Monica Connolly, your host. I am an international best-selling author, a trauma-informed coach, and a speaker. I know what it feels like to carry the weight of the world while slowly losing yourself in the process because I've been there. Through chronic illness, identity loss, and survival mode, I had to rebuild from the inside out. This show is where real transformation begins through raw conversations, expert insights, and mindset shifting solo episodes. You'll get the tools, stories, and support to reset your body, rewire your thoughts, and step boldly into your next chapter. You are not here by accident, and your story is far from over. Let's begin. Welcome back to Unshakable Belief. Today, I want to talk about the quiet exhaustion that so many of us carry, the kind that hides behind productivity and purpose. For years, I called it being strong. I thought if I could just stay busy enough, help enough people, or accomplish enough things, I would feel alive again. But deep down, I knew something was off. Rest never felt like rest, it felt like guilt. What I understand now is that burnout isn't a flaw in character or a failure of faith. It's your body's alarm system begging for attention. When you live too long in survival, your nervous system forgets what safety feels like. You start existing on adrenaline, mistaking intensity for vitality. The more you push, the duller life becomes. I remember the morning I finally noticed it. I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked capable, polished, dependable, but her eyes were tired in a way that makeup couldn't hide. My stomach hurt constantly, my mind was foggy, and my smile had become performance. That moment was my wake up call. My body wasn't betraying me, it was protecting me. It was saying, I've kept you alive through years of chaos, but I can't carry this pace forever. The truth is that burnout is not simply mental fatigue, it's a full body imbalance. Every cell, hormone, and nerve is designed to alternate between action and rest. When you ignore that rhythm, the system starts to fray. You can't think your way out of it, you have to listen your way through it. Your nervous system is constantly scanning your world, asking only one question: am I safe? If the answer feels like no, even subconsciously, it activates your stress response. Your heart rate rises, your digestion pauses, your muscles tighten. That's the sympathetic state, the body gearing up to fight or flee. It's brilliant design for true emergencies, but disastrous when the danger is an overflowing inbox, a chronic memory of loss, or the pressure to be everything to everyone. Over time, you forget how to power down. That constant on shows up differently for each of us. Some feel wired and anxious, others feel numb and detached. Either way, it's the same root, a body caught between overdrive and collapse. I lived that cycle for years, too alert to rest, too depleted to keep going. Stillness made me uneasy because silence gave my body permission to feel, and feeling meant facing everything I'd avoided. The turning point came when I stopped asking, what's wrong with me? And started asking, what is my body trying to say? That shift from shame to curiosity changed everything. Fatigue became a message about energy debt. Digestion pain became a clue that my gut was holding tension. Brain fog became evidence that my system was overwhelmed, not broken. Once I began treating those symptoms as information instead of inconvenience, healing finally had space to start. Now, when stress becomes constant, the chemistry of your brain changes. The brain signals the adrenals to release cortisol and adrenaline. It's helpful for a short burst, but it's corrosive over time. High cortisol steals nutrients, it inflames tissues, and it flattens the natural rhythm that tells you when to wake up and when to rest. You wake up tired, you fall asleep wired, and sugar or caffeine becomes a survival tool. Digestion slows because the body thinks you might have to run. It diverts blood away from your gut towards your limbs, so food sits heavy, nutrients go unabsorbed, and inflammation begins to whisper through every organ. Your hormones follow suit. Cortisol crowds out estrogen and progesterone, insulin spikes and crashes, and your thyroid function wobbles. What looks like hormonal chaos is often just a body trying to conserve resources in extended emergency mode. Even your brain rewires itself under chronic stress. The emotional centers stay loud while the areas responsible for focus and creativity go quiet. That's why you forget words mid-sentence or lose motivation for things that once lit you up. It's not laziness, it's self-preservation. The good news is that the same system that learns survival can relearn safety. Each calm breath, each boundary that's honored, each moment of stillness tells your brain a new story. The danger has passed. Healing doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from repetition. One breath, one pause, one kind thought at a time. Safety at its core is the soil of healing. You can't repair what you still fear. So the first task is not detox or diet. It's trust. Trust that your body wants to heal. Trust that rest is productive. Trust that gentleness is not weakness, but wisdom. That trust begins in micro moments. When you catch yourself holding your breath, exhale slowly. When tension climbs through your shoulders, roll them back and whisper, I'm allowed to relax. When your mind starts racing through tomorrow, ground yourself in what's real now. The chair beneath you, the air in your lungs, the sound of your heartbeat. Those tiny acknowledgments tell your nervous system, we're home. When you start listening to your body instead of correcting it, you realize how much wisdom has been speaking underneath the noise. Your stomach flips before a hard conversation. Your chest tightens when you ignore your limits. Your hands tingle when excitement returns. Every sensation is data, not drama. The gut and brain are constant pen pals. What happens in one instantly echoes in the other through the vagus nerve, the long wandering pathway that links emotion, digestion, and immunity. More than 70% of your serotonin and dopamine, the neurotransmitters that stabilize mood and motivation, are produced in the gut. So when stress halts digestion, it also halts those feel-good chemicals. Suddenly, your world looks gray, not because life got worse, but because chemistry lost its balance. I used to think mindset work alone could fix burnout, but affirmations and vision boards can't land in a body that's still braced for impact. Once I began nourishing my gut, hydration, minerals, foods that grew from the ground instead of a factory, clarity started returning. My brain didn't need pep talks. It needed nutrients and safety. Think of the microbiome as a garden. Every meal, every emotion, every breath of rest or rush is weather for that soil. When you live in storm after storm, weeds of inflammation take over. Healing begins by tending, not controlling, that landscape. Slowing down, feeding it diversity, pulling the weeds of depletion, one gentle habit at a time. Trauma complicates this conversation because it teaches the body that safety can't be trusted. Trauma isn't only the headline moments, it's the smaller ones that never resolved. A harsh word, an unmet need, a night you felt alone when you shouldn't have been. Those memories leave energetic fingerprints that shape how your nervous system interprets new stress. You might flinch at harmless feedback or shut down when life asks for connection. That isn't personality, it's pattern. When the body finally feels safe enough to relax, those old imprints rise to the surface. You might cry without a clear reason or feel an exhaustion that seems to come from nowhere. It's not regression, it's release. Energy that's been trapped for years finally moving through. The way out isn't to analyze every memory, it's to stay present with what you feel now. Notice where the sensation lives. Is it a lump in your throat, a hollowness in your chest, a flutter in your stomach? Place a hand there and breathe. You don't need to fix it, you just need to stay with it until your body realizes you're listening this time. That presence, without judgment, is the opposite of burnout. Burnout is self abandonment. Burnout is abandonment of self. Healing is reunion. Once that reunion begins, practical repair becomes simpler. Start small. Drink water before coffee. Step outside for sunlight before checking your phone. Add one vegetable, one stretch, one honest no. The nervous system calibrates through consistency, not intensity. Notice how your body responds. Maybe your digestion steadies, your jaw relaxes, your laughter returns. Those aren't coincidences. They're evidence of safety taking root. You're rebuilding trust with the most faithful companion you've ever had, your own physiology. The temptation will be to sprint toward perfection. Don't. Your body doesn't need a new project. It needs a new pace. Healing is not a makeover, it's remembering. And healing isn't found in a single breakthrough. It's built one calm moment at a time. Every deep breath is a vote for life. Every act of rest is rebellion against a culture that glorifies exhaustion. And every small kindness toward yourself rewires a little more of your nervous system towards peace. The simplest regulation tools are often the most profound. Breathing is one. When you slow your exhale, you tell your body the emergency is over. You don't need perfect technique, just awareness. Try inhaling through your nose for 4 counts and exhaling through your mouth for 6. Feel the air move all the way down to your belly. That's safety entering your cells. Grounding through the senses works too. Notice the color of the light in the room, the texture under your fingertips, the sound of your own breath. The mind can argue with logic, but it can't argue with the present moment. Movement is medicine, not punishment. So walk, stretch, dance, sway. Let motion release what words can't. Stillness heals, but stagnation suffocates. Find your rhythm somewhere in between. Then there's nourishment, real food, real rest, real hydration. A body fed on care begins to trust again. You don't need an overhaul, you need honesty. Ask yourself, what would feel nourishing right now? Then give yourself permission to receive it. Boundaries are part of nourishment too. Every time you say no from love instead of fear, you show your body that it no longer has to live on high alert. Boundaries are not barriers, they're the structure that lets your nervous system breathe. As regulation becomes familiar, you'll notice energy returning. That's not coincidence, that's physiology finally unclenching. Your cells can use their energy for creation instead of defense. You may find ideas flowing again, relationships softening, joy sneaking back in through the cracks. This is what happens when the body feels safe enough to live instead of survive. Before we move forward, take a moment to check in. Where do you feel life stirring as you listen? Maybe a warmth in your chest, maybe tears in your eyes, maybe the quiet realization that you've been running from yourself for too long. That awareness is the beginning of change. You can't reset what you refuse to acknowledge. The next step is learning how to maintain the safety, how to build a foundation sturdy enough to carry your purpose. That's what the reset path is for. It's not a program, it's a process. It begins with regulation, it expands through nourishment, and ends in transformation. So as you take a breath and let these words settle, remember this. You are not a collection of problems to solve. You are a system designed for balance, a spirit built for renewal. The same intelligence that kept you alive through chaos is ready to lead you into peace. All you have to do is listen. This is where your reset begins. When I talk about the reset path, I'm not describing another checklist for self-improvement. It's a rhythm, a way of returning home to your body again and again. Each stage builds on the last, guiding you from dysregulation and completion back to steadiness and purpose. Reset stands for regulate, energize, support, expand, and transform. It's both linear and cyclical. You move through it in order, but you'll circle back whenever life changes shape. Let's walk through together. Regulate. Everything begins here. Regulation is about safety, real, felt, consistent safety. Not the kind that comes from control, but from connection. Your nervous system needs proof that the danger has passed. That proof arrives through breath, through movement, through self-talk that soothes instead of scolds. Start small. Notice your posture right now. Are your shoulders climbing towards your ears? Let them drop. Unclench your jaw. Take one slow breath that fills your ribs. That's regulation. It seems simple, but it changes your brain's chemistry. Each calm exhale lowers cortisol and opens blood flow back to digestion, creativity, and empathy. You can't think your way into peace. You have to feel your way there. For some people, regulation looks like stillness, meditation, journaling, prayer. For others, it's gentle activation, walking, humming, stretching. The goal isn't calm, the goal is coherence, the feeling that your body and mind are on the same team. If you struggle to rest, start by creating micro pauses, 1 minute between tasks, 2 deep breaths before opening your email, a slow drink of water while you actually taste it. Those tiny moments retrain your brain to believe that rest is safe. Once you've built a baseline of regulation, the next stage is energize. This is about restoring the body's natural fuel without stimulants, without pushing. Think of it as lighting a steady fire instead of chasing sparks. True energy isn't found in another cup of coffee. It's created by oxygen, hydration, and stable blood sugar. When you breathe fully, you feed every cell. When you drink enough water, electrical signals travel cleanly through your body. When you eat meals that include protein, fiber, and healthy fats, your mood stabilizes because your blood sugar does. Energize is also emotional. It's the spark that comes back when the body trusts it won't be overworked again. I ask my clients, what gives you energy that isn't caffeine or chaos? Sometimes they can't answer right away, and that's okay. Part of healing is rediscovering joy that doesn't cost your health. Here's a few simple energizers. Morning sunlight on your skin, movement that makes you smile instead of wince, music that lifts your spirits, hydration before screens, a few minutes of gratitude journaling that shifts focus from what's missing to what's possible. Energy follows attention. Wherever your awareness goes, your biology follows. So when you focus on peace, your body begins to produce it. These first 2 stages, regulate and energize, lay the groundwork for everything else. They're the inhale before the exhale of deeper healing. Without them, the rest of the path becomes another form of striving. With them, your whole system begins to operate from sufficiency instead of scarcity. Once your body starts remembering safety and your energy has a steady pulse again, you're ready for the next stage, support. This is where healing stops being theory and becomes lifestyle. It's the practical, repeatable care that keeps you from sliding back into depletion. Think of it as building scaffolding around your new rhythm. It begins with nourishment. Food is information. It tells your body whether you're safe or starving. Choose meals that calm inflammation. Colorful plants, lean proteins, healthy fats, fermented foods. Eat slow enough to taste. Digestion starts with presence. Hydration is another. Dehydration alone can mimic anxiety, a racing heart, dizziness, brain fog. Keep water where you can see it and sip throughout the day. Add minerals if you need them. You're refilling a well that's been dry for far too long. Sleep is sacred support. Most people don't need another supplement, they need a bedtime. Create a routine that signals closure. Lower the lights, stretch, breathe, release the day. Your nervous system heals the fastest in deep sleep. That's when hormones rebalance, tissues repair, and memories integrate. Support also means boundaries and systems, external structures that protect internal peace. Look at your calendar. Does it reflect your values or your obligations? Choose one commitment to release this week. Space is a nutrient too. And remember emotional support. Healing alone is exhausting. Community regulates you faster than solitude ever can. Let trusted people witness your process. Let them remind you that you're not too much and you're not alone. When support becomes steady, your capacity naturally grows. That leads us to expand. This is the stage where you begin to test your new regulation in real life. It's where healing meets momentum. After living in survival for years, expansion can feel unfamiliar, almost risky, because thriving used to equal overextension. But now you expand with intention, not compulsion. Expansion is creativity returning, energy that's used to feed anxiety, now fueling your purpose. You might start a new project, reconnect with a passion, or simply notice beauty again. The point isn't achievement, it's alignment. This is also where you practice flexibility. Life will keep changing, and old triggers may reappear. Expansion doesn't mean you never wobble, it means you recover faster. You learn to pivot without collapsing, to pause without guilt. Each time you self correct, your nervous system grows stronger, like a muscle remembering its full range of motion. To expand well, anchor each new challenge in grounding rituals. Before a meeting, breathe. Before a hard conversation, plant your feet. After success, celebrate instead of sprinting to the next thing. Celebration is a form of regulation too. It tells your body that joy is safe. Expansion often brings renewed relationships. You start communicating needs instead of burying them. You listen more deeply. You choose connection that energizes rather than drains. This is growth without losing grace. By the time you reach expand, you can feel the shift. Your days no longer swing between chaos and collapse. There's an underlying steadiness, a quiet confidence that you can handle what comes. That's when the final stage of transform begins. When regulation is familiar, energy flows, and your foundations are strong, you enter the final stage of the reset path, transform. Transformation isn't about becoming something new. It's about remembering who you were before survival became your identity. It's the quiet strength that comes when you trust your own rhythm again. Your decisions grow clearer because they're made from safety, not scarcity. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. Transformation is subtle at first. You notice that situations that once triggered you no longer do. You can pause before you speak. You recover faster after stress. Those are signs of rewiring, evidence that your nervous system now believes in peace more than panic. This is also where purpose becomes personal again. When your body isn't fighting for balance, it finally has energy to dream. Ideas rise up naturally. A business you've wanted to build, a community you want to serve, a story you're ready to tell. Transformation channels healing outward. The energy that once went into surviving now goes into creating. The paradox is that transformation isn't achieved by force. It happens by fidelity, showing up for your body, your thoughts, and your spirit daily. Some days it's messy. Some days it's mundane. But every small act of alignment compounds into a new identity, one who lives by design instead of default. As you move through Transform, you might feel an impulse to go back and revisit earlier stages. That's good. Regulation, energy, and support, they aren't check boxes. They aren't boxes to check. They're companions you'll travel with for life. Every time you return, you refine, you deepen trust, simplify habits, and strengthen the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. I like to imagine transformation as a sunrise. It doesn't arrive all at once. The light expands gradually until you realize the dark isn't gone, it's simply balanced by the glow. Healing is the same. You still have stress, but it no longer defines you. You still feel emotion, but it no longer overwhelms you. You walk through life with your eyes open, grounded, and awake. As we close this part of our journey, take one more breath. Feel the steadiness that wasn't here when we began. That's your reset in motion, a nervous system that knows rest, a body that feels safe, and a mind that trusts its own voice. Carry that with you as we move into the next chapter, where we'll explore how to sustain this transformation, the habits, mindset, and purpose work that turn healing into a lifestyle. This is where we move from resetting to truly thriving. Now, you've learned to regulate, refuel, and rebuild. Now it's time to live from that new foundation. This is where healing becomes leadership, where the work you've done inside begins to ripple outward. The framework that carries this next phase is something I call the 3 C's of transformation: clarity, confidence, and consistency. They're simple words, but they describe a complete evolution. Clarity reveals who you are now. Confidence anchors that truth in your body, and consistency turns it into a life you can trust. Let's start with clarity. It is illumination. It's the light that pours in once the fog of burnout lifts. When you're dysregulated, your world shrinks to survival. You can only see the next problem. As your nervous system stabilizes, vision returns, and you begin to notice possibilities again. Clarity isn't only about goals, it's about honesty. What do you actually want? What fits your current season? What are you done pretending to enjoy? Sit with those questions, even if the answers feel messy. Clarity is not a lightning bolt, it's an unfolding. It asks you to slow down enough to hear your own truth beneath the noise of expectation. Here's how to cultivate it. Create stillness on purpose. Turn down the volume of life for at least a few minutes each day. No phone, no multitasking, just space. In silence, your intuition rises. You begin to sense the difference between what's truly yours and what you inherit from other people's fears. Reflect without judgment. Ask yourself, what drains me? What restores me? Your body already knows the answers. The tightness in your chest, the spark in your belly, those are indicators more reliable than any spreadsheet of pros and cons. Clarify your values because they act like the rails of a train track. They keep momentum pointed in the right direction. If freedom matters more than control, design your schedule around flexibility. If peace matters more than performance, say no to things that steal it. Alignment isn't perfection, it's honesty expressed through action. Once clarity settles in, an internal calm replaces the constant questioning. You stop outsourcing your decisions to everyone else's opinions because you finally know what your yes feels like and what your no feels like too. That's when the second C begins to bloom: confidence. Now, it's often misunderstood as loudness or certainty. It's often misunderstood as loudness or certainty, but real confidence is quieter. It's the embodied knowing that you can rely on yourself. You've already proven it by coming this far. Every breath you took in the earlier stages of reset built trust. Confidence is that trust in motion. Confidence doesn't mean you never wobble, it means you know how to find your footing again. It's a relationship with yourself built on evidence, moments where you chose presence instead of panic, truth instead of people pleasing, rest instead of overdrive. Each of those choices become a brick in your foundation. Confidence lives in your body, not your resume. You can't download it from a course or borrow it from a mentor. You cultivate it every time you listen to your inner guidance and act accordingly. That's why posture and breath matter. Stand tall, inhale slowly, feel your feet on the ground. Your nervous system reads that as safety, and safety feels like confidence. The biggest thief of confidence is comparison. When you measure your journey by someone else's timeline, you disconnect from your own rhythm. You start sprinting towards goals that don't belong to you. But when you return to clarity, when you remember what matters to you, confidence resurfaces effortlessly. Because confidence is alignment made visible. Now let's talk about consistency. Consistency is the quiet glue that turns healing into a lifestyle. It's what keeps transformation from fading once the excitement wears off. In a dysregulated world, consistency isn't about strict routines, it's about rhythm. Think of your nervous system as an instrument. You don't need to play the same note every day, you just need to stay in tune. Here's the truth, your body craves predictability more than perfection. Small, repeatable habits signal safety far more than occasional intensities. Far more than occasional intensity. So instead of overhauling your life, focus on micro anchors, tiny actions that keep you connected to regulation and purpose. A few examples are morning breath before screens, hydration before caffeine, movement that wakes the body without punishing it, reflection or gratitude before sleep, boundaries that hold even when no one's watching. Those small acts of consistency retrain your brain to expect steadiness. They also create integrity, the alignment between what you say you value and what you actually do. Integrity is where confidence matures. When your actions match your truth and your nervous system relaxes. There's no internal war to manage. Consistency also means grace. You'll miss a day, skip a ritual, lose momentum. That's human. The win is in returning, not perfection. Every time you come back, you reinforce trust. I can depend on me. When the 3 C's, clarity, confidence, and consistency, start working together, it feels less like managing chaos and more like conducting harmony. You move through challenges with steadiness. You speak with authority that doesn't need volume. You lead without losing yourself. And that's the essence of thriving, living from overflow instead of obligation. As we close this part, pause for a moment, breathe. Notice the evidence of growth, how your body feels calmer, your thoughts clearer, your hope a little louder. That's not coincidence, it's coherence. You're shifting from surviving to leading your life. Carry that awareness with you as we enter the final chapter, integration and purpose, where we'll explore how to live this new rhythm in faith, work, and relationships, and how to keep rising with grace. Integration is where wisdom turns into way of life. It's the bridge between who you were healing and who you were becoming. You don't need another framework now, you need embodiment. Living what you already know. Healing taught you safety. Thriving taught you rhythm. Integration teaches you trust. Trust that your body knows what peace feels like, that your intuition is reliable, that your purpose will keep unfolding as you walk it out. This is the stage where many people slip back into striving because they mistake stillness for stagnation. But integration isn't idle, it's active rest. It's letting growth settle into your bones until it becomes second nature. Each morning, remind yourself that you are no longer fixing, you're practicing. Practicing presence, practicing gratitude, practicing boundaries. Transformation lasts when it becomes muscle memory and purpose begins to expand here. It isn't a job title or a platform. It's alignment between your gifts and the needs of the world around you. When you live regulated and whole, you carry calm into every room. Your presence becomes medicine. That's purpose. Sometimes purpose looks like leading a company. Sometimes it's raising children, starting a movement, or quietly mentoring one person who needs to see that healing is real. Purpose shifts with seasons, but its core never changes. It's love in action. Integration also means reconciling your humanness with your wholeness. You will still have hard days, triggers, and doubts. The difference now is that you meet them with awareness instead of judgment. You don't spiral, you self soothe. You don't run from discomfort, you breathe through it. You remember everything you've learned still works here. Keep tending the practices that anchor you. Breathe, nourishment, reflection, movement, boundaries. They're not chores. They're conversation with your nervous system. They say, we're safe, we're supported, we're still growing, and keep nurturing connection. Community regulates faster than isolation ever will. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your expansion, not your exhaustion. Healing multiplies in circles, not silos. As purpose unfolds, humility becomes essential. Healing isn't a badge, it's a stewardship. Your story is a roadmap for someone else's hope. When you share from overflow, you turn your personal victory into collective permission. So if you feel called to write, speak, lead, or create, do it as a conversation, not a performance. Let your authenticity be the invitation. Perfection never inspired anyone. Presence always does. Now take a slow breath and feel the full arc of your journey. From chaos to clarity, from burnout to balance, from merely existing to deeply living. That's the Phoenix moment, the rising that happens quietly but permanently. You've walked through a complete reset, body, mind, and purpose. Now the work is to keep living it. Integration doesn't mean holding every piece perfectly. It means returning to yourself every time you drift. That return is where grace lives. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes if you can. Notice your breath, the steady rhythm that's carried you through this entire journey. That breath is proof that healing is still happening, one inhale and exhale at a time. You've learned to read your body's language instead of silencing it. You've replaced pressure with presence. You've discovered that peace isn't found somewhere out there, it's created inside you. And when you live from that peace, everything else, your relationships, your leadership, your creativity, it aligns with ease. There will be days when the old pace tries to pull you back. When that happens, remember your tools. Regulate, breathe, ground, rest. Remember your anchors: clarity, confidence, consistency. And remember your truth. You are no longer surviving, you're living from overflow. I want you to picture your future self, the version of you who's fully integrated. She moves through her day without apology for her boundaries. She laughs easily. She listens to her intuition and trusts its timing. She still faces challenges, but she meets them with calm instead of chaos. That version of you already exists. You're just catching up to her. So as you close this episode, let this be your declaration. I'm ready to live regulated. I'm ready to live rooted. I'm ready to live on purpose. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to continue the work with me in my free masterclass, Reflect, Release, and Rise, your 2026 Reset Inventory, on December 1st at 7 p.m. Together, we'll take everything you've learned here and turn it into a clear, actionable plan for the year ahead, a plan grounded in peace, purpose, and vitality. You can register through the link in the show notes or at monicaconnollycoaching.com. Thank you for spending this time with me. Your willingness to pause, to listen, and to rise again is the heartbeat of this work. You are proof that healing is possible and that purpose waits on the other side of burnout. Until next time, remember, you were made for more. Live on purpose, in purpose, every single day. Thank you for spending this time with me today. My hope is that something you heard sparks the courage to take one small step toward the life you were created for. If you're looking for deeper support on your journey, you'll find free resources, coaching opportunities, and ways to connect with me at my website, monicaconnollycoaching.com. And remember this: you are not too far gone, it's not too late, and you are never alone. Keep rising, keep healing, and keep believing because you, my friend, were made for so much more.